Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Caroline Voden describes herself as being a communications Swiss Army knife. One of the things she loves doing is writing website copy, and she's got several tips to share on how your website can help with your networking and vice versa. Thank you very much for being my podcast guest today, Caroline.
Thank you so much for having me. Lovely to be here.
Now, you're a copywriter and a content strategist, but I'd like to dig into your background first. And what did you study and what did you want to do when you were younger?
Oh, interesting question. People are always a bit surprised by this. So I studied social anthropology,
Okay.
not the study of ants, what I get often. I left school. I knew I loved writing, and I wasn't really sure what to do next. So I kind of was looking for something that was a bit of writing, bit of history, bit of kind of sociology, understanding how people tick.
Yeah.
So that's what I studied. And yeah, writing was kind of always my jam, but I didn't really know, I guess, how to, where I fit in the kind of writing landscape at the beginning.
Yeah. So after you'd done your qualification, then what was your first job? What did you go and do?
I entered a PR agency, right at the bottom of the rung. I think I was a PR assistant back in the day. And I was kind of in that career for 10 years, twists and turns, but I always stayed within the kind of public relations and publicity side of things, normally looking after businesses at the beginning.
Yeah. And what did you enjoy about that? What kept you in it for 10 years?
Oh, it's different. And people say this about every job, but it's genuinely different every day, because you have to respond to what's happening in the news. So that kind of kept me on my toes, and I loved working with all different types of people. Like, that's the benefit of working in an agency, I guess. So I kind of start off with businesses, but more recently, I guess, at the kind of latter end of that career, I started working with a kind of individuals, so sports stars or politicians, who maybe, wanted to be in the media or had done something that they wanted to not be in the media. So yeah, working with so many different people and kind of getting your finger on the pulse and kind of understanding what's happening kind of around you and how media works was really interesting for me.
Yeah. So what made you leave that world?
Well, it's brilliant, but it's very corporate. Or my side of it was anyway. And I left to go about a year and a half ago. I left to go traveling around the world. And it's a little harder to do that specific job when you're in Sri Lanka. And so I kind of put my thinking cap on and I thought, well, I love writing. I've always loved writing. So I'll see if I can, pick up some of my own clients just on that side of, on that kind of specific part of things. And yeah, I just fell in love with website copywriting particularly. I fell in love with working with smaller businesses because I've been in the corporate world for so long, and it's wonderful. You get to work on big, exciting projects, but at the same time, there's a bit less kind of personality in it, and you become a bit more of a cog in a wheel, to be honest. So that's kind of how I got into website copywriting, and it's kind of just grown from there, really.
Yeah. Now, you said you went traveling and you're not in the UK now, are you? Tell us where you are and how you ended up there.
So I live in Australia, and about 6 years ago, I kind of swapped I was really, I was on the tube at 5 a.m. every morning and getting back at 9 p.m. And I kind of swapped that very busy lifestyle for the complete opposite. I live, on a beach on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. And I kind of came here backpacking and then just, loved the lifestyle. First moved over to Melbourne because I needed to get a bit more, I felt like I needed to still be a bit more further along in my career before I kind of went off by myself. And so I'm in Australia now. We got back a couple of months ago from our big trip.
Very nice. So tell me about the differences then between life in the UK and life in Oz.
Some of it's very similar, which is good. Obviously, same language. It's kind of similar sense of humor. and the cultural differences in like sport, for example, is a big one.
Mm.
But definitely the Aussies just what's the saying? They live to work? No, the other one. They work to live.
Yeah.
They work to live. They're all about, starting work at 7 a.m., stopping at 3 p.m. and getting out on the, in the sunshine. It's a lot more outdoorsy lifestyle I live out here, which is awesome, and something I've really I'm surfing now, which is very different to what I was doing in London. And I guess from a kind of career and business point of view, generally you get paid more over here, which was great. When I moved, my salary went up quite a lot when I was working for an employer, and it's a bit more of I find it is a bit more of an entrepreneurial lifestyle, especially where I am. So I'm not in a big city, so most people here have their own businesses, which is cool. Good for me to learn from.
Yeah. And you mentioned a big trip there. Tell me something about that.
Oh, we were in Sri Lanka for 6 months, surfing at a different surf kind of town every month. Yeah, about that. And then we went through to Georgia. I came home to the UK for a bit, Portugal, and the Maldives. We ended up in the Maldives randomly, which wasn't on the cards, but it's only an hour's flight to Sri Lanka if anyone's interested. So, yeah.
That sounds lovely. And were you still working during your big trip?
Yeah, I was. And it was a bit of a baptism of fire because Sri Lanka is very different culturally and we'd never been there before.
Mm.
And so I kind of ended up in Sri Lanka and suddenly I had to find all my own clients remotely. That's when I kind of started when I opened my business. So I was working the whole time, and actually it was absolutely fine. The power cuts in Sri Lanka were a bit difficult. But otherwise it was fine, and it's like I fell in love with the flexibility of
Yeah.
being my own boss.
And did you find it easy to find clients when you first set up on your own?
Um, yeah, I think probably like a lot of people who've been in the industry for a while, my first clients came through kind of contacts that I already knew.
Hmm.
So I guess getting the first few people through the door wasn't too hard. But scaling from, or just bringing more business in from there, that's I guess where I found the most challenging, especially
Mm.
because I'd never been my own boss before. So you kind of have to get used to
Yeah.
marketing all the time and thinking 2 months ahead.
Yes.
um, so that was that's where where I've definitely learned the most. But yeah, it was good. It was good for me.
Yeah. So tell me about the types of clients that you work with now. What kind of businesses are they? What sort of size and where are they in the world?
Yeah, where they are in the world is it's a good question. Because I was in the UK, well, because I'm from the UK, I have a lot of clients in the UK still,
Hmm.
which sometimes the time difference is actually really good because there's kind of the deadlines fall actually a day ahead. So
Yeah.
someone can send something and they'll get it back the next day, whereas I've been working in the nighttime.
Yeah.
So I'd say probably 50% of my clients are in the UK, and then 25% US, 25% Australia. And I work with two different types of clients. So with website copywriting, I love working with kind of scrappy startups,
Hmm.
and a lot of consultants and coaches who have been in business a couple of years. They're doing awesome work, and maybe their website is just a little bit, it's kind of version 1.0 of the business.
Hmm.
It's outdated, maybe it doesn't reflect their current positioning or their target audience, which often changes a lot. And it's not really showing off their
Yeah.
recent results from clients. Mostly all in the B2B space. And then on kind of content strategy, I work with bigger global brands like HSBC, Airwallex, some interesting fintechs in the UK as well. So it tends to be across finance, law, and property.
Mm, yeah. And what kind of copy are you writing for them? You mentioned websites in there, but what else are you doing?
Mm. So websites a lot, and blogs, but kind of longer form blogs,
Hmm.
and lots of white papers and reports, like benchmarking reports, industry reports, that kind of thing. With the websites, I love saying that I love taking B2Bs from bland to brilliant.
Hmm.
So it's kind of infusing that personality packed copy, and also packing their website full of credibility markers and proof points so that they can land higher paying clients. Really the
Yeah.
goal.
So what kind of problems do you find that your clients come to you with? What are you solving for them?
So a lot of the time it'll be, as I said, we started off as a digital health consultancy that was really general, but now we want to focus on healthcare clients.
Hmm.
So they need to make sure that their website really talks to the problems and the frustrations and the pain points that healthcare sector care about. So it's a lot of that kind of positioning work. Also, it'll be, if the client's trying to get funding maybe or getting grants and they know that they kind of want to professionalize their marketing materials a bit.
Mm.
Or sometimes it'll be, we have this website and we've had some SEO worked on it, so it's getting traffic to it, but we're not really seeing results from the sales. So I'll kind of have a good look and make sure that everything is conversion focused without being, for a lot of people, it tends to be we want to convert people, but we don't want to be too salesy.
Yeah.
So finding that personality kind of middle ground.
Yeah, yeah. Now, on your LinkedIn profile, you describe yourself as being a communications Swiss Army knife. I love that description. Tell me why you describe yourself in that way.
Well, it's because I also, at the moment, I'm kind of building out a new consultancy offering, which kind of relates back to that, my kind of the 10 years I had in PR.
Mm-hmm.
And because I worked in communications agencies, you learn to do so many things.
Yeah.
And I find it really hard to say, like, I am just a website copywriter, because I do that and I love it, but it's not the only thing I do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of reflective of, I can help you get publicity, but I can also write your website copy and your brand guidelines and maybe help you with your tone of voice.
Yeah.
So yeah, a bit of a jack of all trades.
I think it's a great description. So what difference do you find that you're making to your clients? What sort of results they're getting having worked with you?
Oh, it really ranges. So it might be, for some of the content strategist work that I do, it might be, I think I had a client recently who had a 400% increase in traffic to their website, which is really good for them.
Yeah.
People on landing pages for a lot more time are going through to I think I had another client who was digital consultancy who had I think I'm going to say it's like a 6 times increase in engagement on their services page, which was really important to them. For other clients, it might be, we started ranking in number 2 on Google search results page. Or it might be, we now have this website that we really feel represents us and we feel really confident in showing it to clients. And it's, it's something off our plate that would have taken us hours and days to do.
Yeah.
Bit of a range.
Yeah. So let's turn to the networking side of things now. Was networking something that you did when you were in the corporate world?
Not so much. I really didn't like doing it in the corporate world, to be honest. I used to dread I had business development targets as part of my role. And I used to dread going along to the events. And it's funny how I think that's kind of probably an alignment in the kind of job thing rather than, because now I love it. And I go to lots kind of online and offline. So yeah, it's a bit different now.
Yeah. So what kind of a networking events do you go to?
So here on the Sunshine Coast, I'm part of the Sunshine Coast Young Chamber of Commerce. So I'm part of the executive committee there. So I go to all of those events and we host a lot of events through that. There are a couple of other chambers of commerces that we have the relationships with that are really useful for me. I also go to like coffee networking events that are a bit more casual as well as online. I'm a part of a couple paid communities in the B2B space that are kind of less traditional networking, but I still see them as networking. They're Slack channels and resources that I still kind of get to communicate with other people in my industry with, and I get clients through there, and I meet interesting collaborators as well. And then I do kind of some online networking with the UK as well when the when it's not 3 a.m. here.
Yes. Yeah, the time difference must make that a bit tricky.
Yes, it is a bit tricky, but I still, I don't know, I quite like keeping in touch with UK businesses, so I try and make it work when I can.
Yeah. Do you think there's differences in networking styles between the UK and Australia?
So where I live, definitely yes, maybe because I'm used to that more corporate style of things. But so on the Sunshine Coast, the vast majority of people who live here will own their own businesses, and the sectors will normally be kind of construction, trades, maybe a few retail stores. So they kind of err towards not more casual, but maybe more kind of how do I put it? Bit more, I don't know, I don't want to use the authentic word because it's so overused. But essentially, they kind of just come as themselves. Whereas I did find in big cities sometimes, especially in the kind of B2B space, it was a bit more just formal, and you
Yeah.
felt a bit more, you had to do the small talk before you could jump into the kind of meatier topics.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you find that you get from networking?
Oh, good question. I think it's a range of kind of collaborators. Like I do like to meet other people in my industry or in similar industries who, I can do podcasts with, or host events with, or even just sound ideas around with, as well as potential clients as well. And maybe referrers is another big one for me. So
Mm.
website designers, creatives, branding agencies. They're always looking for help with copy, and I'm always, some of my clients will say, "Oh, I do know a website designer," so it's good for those kind of relationships as well.
Yeah. And how can your website help with your networking?
Ooh, so I've got three kind of tips here,
Mm.
and the first one I think is, so if you get a professional copywriter to write your website for you, the first thing, or one of the first things I'll do is I'll do voice of customer research. And that basically just means that they'll go and they'll chat to your customers so that they can find out, I guess from the horse's mouth,
Mhm.
what value you bring to them, and the kind of phrases and the words that resonate with your kind of target
Yeah.
client. With networking, you've basically just got like a live feedback loop in front of you, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Especially if you network regularly, like every month you can talk to your target audience and find out what they're struggling with, or kind of how they describe you. And you can take those words and those real conversations you've had and update your website copy accordingly.
Yeah.
Things to look out for are, if you're noticing that everyone who might be a potential client for you or a customer, they're all struggling with something like a specific pain point at the moment. So for me, for example, some of my legal clients at the moment, a lot of them are worried about AI and
Hmm.
accuracy and copyright management. So that was kind of a little flag for me on my website to talk about how I use AI, because I do use it, and make sure that's really clear for them.
Mm.
Or if you have an elevator pitch or a way of introducing yourself to networking, that might mirror kind of what you have on your website, especially on your homepage. And you can test out different ways of saying it and seeing what resonates most with the person in front of you, and then tweak the words on your homepage accordingly. So yeah, it's a really nice feedback loop.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really like that idea. And because we're handing out business cards at networking meetings, and you're hoping people are going to visit your website. So you want it to reflect you, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And something else that's good to think about there is, especially if you do a lot of networking and you meeting people for coffees outside of networking as well, the chances are that they are gonna, go and have a nosy around and
Mm.
see what you're about. So you want to make sure that your call to actions and the kind of pathways on your website reflect that. So for example, if if lots of people are coming to your website and they might be potential collaborators or clients down the line, they might not be ready to, or they might not need to kind of buy from you
Mm.
immediately or book a call with you immediately. So maybe on your homepage, that first kind of button might not be useful for it to be call me or book me. It might be more about take me to your about page, or something about if you have a podcast, because that's where people might come to look for that information. So that's just another thing. Yeah, think about who is coming to your website. It's not always just your clients,
Yeah.
and make it easy for them to stay in touch with you, even if they're not a client.
Yeah. Lovely. Great tips. Thank you very much. So, what plans do you have for your business for the future, Caroline?
Oh, big question. um, so I'm trying to. Well, I am building out the kind of doing a bit more consultancy work at the moment.
Mhm.
And the reason for that is that I like the variety, and I have all these skills that I'm not using that I think people people actually they are a bit more specialized than I originally kind of gave myself credit for, I think. So doing a bit more consultancy work, continuing to write websites. I just love that side of the business. And I think maybe some plans for a kind of group coaching thing, which isn't entirely fleshed out yet. But yeah, keep growing, keep evolving. It's only a year and a half old.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm still learning every day, but I'm loving it. And it was a bit of an experiment at the first to see if I could make money from this by myself while I was doing. And just yeah, the flexibility is just amazing. So I'll keep going as long as people have me.
Wonderful. So if people want to find you and work with you, Caroline, what's the best place for them to find you?
If you want to just find out more about me, I'm on LinkedIn as Caroline Voden, or my website is storycopywriting.co.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much for being my guest, and I look forward to seeing your program when you manage to get that sorted out.
I managed to get a frog off my back. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to Small Business, Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, please do rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.